Am I the asshole for leaving my mother's party after she insulted my daughter? I, 36 years old, have a stepdaughter, 14 years old, Anna. Her father and I married when Anna was 2. I consider her to be my real daughter in every way that matters and love her just as much as my biological children. Most of my family adores Anna. She's a very sweet and hardworking girl who does her best to make them proud. However, my mother, 55 years old, appears to not. She's never outright said that she dislikes my daughter or why, but I've always thought it's because Anna wasn't my biological child. I've been teaching Anna to cook for a few years now. She asked me last year if she could start bringing her cooking to family gatherings and potlucks, and of course I agreed. My mother started critiquing Anna's dishes. It began with just suggesting she add different spices or cook an ingredient a little longer, but over the past few months it's been getting worse. She doesn't criticize the dishes of any family members. This Thanksgiving, she told Anna that the casserole she made was disgusting and inedible. I told my mother to stop criticizing Anna and that she was doing her best, but she just brushed me off, which was the final straw. My family was in town this week to celebrate my mother's birthday. I had some curry that my mother had made about 6 months ago and given to me to freeze, so I reheated it and brought it to the party and told everyone Anna had worked very hard to make it just like her grandmother always did. Immediately, my mother started criticizing the curry, saying how Anna had added too much spice and overcooked the chicken. She even went so far as to tell Anna that she should stop bringing food to potlucks altogether. And I hadn't originally intended to make a big deal out of this, but that comment crossed a line. I informed my mother that it was her own curry that I had reheated, and Anna had not actually cooked it. She immediately started sputtering and backpedaled, saying she was just trying to give constructive criticism and make Anna a better cook, but I knew she didn't really believe it. I asked her why she would treat my own stepdaughter so badly, and she admitted that she didn't see Anna as her real grandchild. This was the final straw for me. I found my husband, Anna, and my other children, and told them we had to leave, explaining what my mother said. We probably won't be attending any family gatherings for the foreseeable future either. My mother has gone full scorched earth on Facebook, and most family members have taken her side. She says that I ruined her party by leaving, and that I destroyed our relationship for someone who isn't even my real child. My husband is on my side, but he thinks that we shouldn't have left the party since I'd already proven my point. Edit. I left my mother's party in response to her critiquing my stepdaughter, which might make me the asshole for overreacting. Comment. NTA here. You're not just sticking up for Anna, but you're protecting her from what amounts to verbal abuse. Plus, you're drawing a line with your mom that some behavior isn't acceptable. That's always a good line to take, especially with parents and in-laws that don't grok the idea that they can't do whatever they want and treat people like crap with impunity. NTA. That was a brilliant trick, and it made the point so obvious that your mother sputtered in shame, and that is exactly why your mother is on social media trying to recruit a gang of flying monkeys. Jump onto her posts and ask her why she uses family gatherings to roast your daughter. Ask her if she envies her youth and her sweet, polite nature. Then ask her if she's so confident that she's in the right, then why is she grievance vomiting all over social media, practically begging for backup support and consensus? Tell her that happy and well-adjusted people are confident in their actions and don't need a chorus of people telling them that they're right. Then ask if she desperately needs a hug, and that's why she's competing with and bullying a 14-year-old girl whom she knows you love. Maybe even explain to her that love is not finite, that love for others doesn't mean less love for her. If she's religious, then throw in that handy-dandy do unto others thing and tell her you've decided to treat her like she treats her daughter. Now, why would that upset you? Oh, you're admitting that you treat her badly? Eat it. Punctuation is important. NTA, you chose to be Anna's mother, and you are. You mother is a huge attacking her for no reason other than she doesn't see her as a real grandchild. Go very limited contact to no contact with her and anyone else that has an issue. Anna did nothing to deserve all that. Hopefully she keeps cooking and baking and doesn't let those comments affect her. Update 1. After we left the party, the atmosphere at home felt heavy. My husband, although supporting me, couldn't stop complaining about how quickly we left. He said we made a big deal out of it and could have solved the issue without making everything so tense. but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had done the right thing. My mother had gone too far, and I couldn't let her continue treating Anna like that. The next morning, I received a message from my mother. She asked me to come and talk things through. I could feel the tension in her words, and I couldn't help but feel nervous about this meeting. She still hadn't apologized and didn't seem to understand that her behavior had hurt us, and I couldn't tolerate it anymore. I decided to go, but this time, I wouldn't go alone. My husband and Anna would come with me. I didn't want to face my mother alone anymore. This wasn't a meeting to heal our relationship, but rather a meeting for her to understand that I had run out of patience and could no longer accept the way she treated us. When we arrived at my mother's house, she didn't open the door right away. Instead, she stood behind the door for a while, probably thinking about what she would say. When she finally opened the door, her eyes betrayed both anger and disappointment. She had prepared for a conversation, but I wasn't sure she was truly ready to face the words I was about to say. "Mom, we need to talk," I started, trying to remain calm even though I was bursting inside. "You have hurt Anna and this family. You've treated her unfairly and disrespectfully. Why did you do this?" My mother looked at me, her eyes full of blame. "You don't understand, do you?" she said, her voice bitter. "You chose her, not your family. You ruined this relationship for a child who isn't even your biological daughter." Her words were like a knife to my heart. I could feel the anger rising in me, but I tried to keep it in check, not wanting this conversation to turn into a shouting match. This isn't about who I chose. It's about you respecting the people I love, regardless of whether they are my biological children or not. Anna is my daughter, and if you can't respect her, then I can't accept this relationship anymore. Anna stood beside me, her face showing both concern and a little bravery. "Grandma, I just want to be loved and respected like everyone else in the family," Anna spoke up, her voice shaky but firm. "I never did anything wrong." My mother stared at Anna for a long moment. Her eyes seemed to be battling with her own emotions. "You're not really my granddaughter," she said, then turned away, not looking at us anymore. That sentence froze the room. I could feel Anna's hurt clearly, and I too could hardly breathe. My husband looked at me, his eyes filled with disappointment but also empathy. Finally, he spoke. "I think it's time we think about the future. If your mother can't change how she sees Anna and our family, then maybe we need to reconsider this relationship." I felt like the weight of the world was on me, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't keep enduring this disrespect. "Mom, if you can't change the way you treat Anna, I don't know how this relationship can continue. We can't live in a family where my daughter isn't respected." My mother didn't say anything more. She stood there in silence, not knowing what to do next. But I knew we had reached a crossroads. All that remained was to decide which path we would take moving forward. Update 2. When we left my mother's house, no one said anything during the drive home. The atmosphere in the car was tense, with only the sound of the engine and everyone's scattered thoughts. When we arrived home, everyone silently went to their rooms, not wanting to speak, but I knew I needed to talk to Anna. I found Anna in her room, sitting quietly by the window, the soft light of the sunset casting a glow on her face. She was staring out the window, but I could see the tears silently streaming down her cheeks. Anna didn't say anything when I entered. She just gently wiped her tears and looked at me with a sad expression, as if trying to hide her true feelings. "Anna, are you okay?" I asked, my voice soft but full of concern. She looked at me, her eyes filled with disappointment and hurt. "Mom, why did she say that to me?" Anna's voice was choked. "I just want to be loved and respected like every other child in the family. But she never sees me as part of the family. I don't know what to do." I sat down next to her, wrapping my arm around Anna's shoulder. "Don't think like that, Anna. I love you, and I will always protect you. I know this is really hard for you, but you are not alone. I will always be here for you, no matter what." "But I can't stop thinking about what she said," Anna continued, her eyes red from crying. "I always try to do everything right, to be the best I can, but she always finds a way to criticize me. Why can't I be like her other grandchildren? Why does she hate me?" I could feel the deep pain in Anna's words. as if all her efforts to fit into this family had been rejected. "You didn't do anything wrong, Anna. Sometimes other people can't see the good in you because of their own biases and expectations. But the most important thing is that you know I love you, and I always believe in you." Anna sat quietly for a moment, then finally turned to me, her eyes shining a little. "Mom, I just want her to love me like you love me. I just want to have a family where I don't feel different." I hugged Anna tightly, not saying anything more, just letting her feel the warmth and comfort from my embrace. "Anna, you're not a different child. You're my daughter. And no matter what happens, I will never let you feel alone in this life." We sat in silence for a long while, feeling comfort in the stillness of the space. I knew she needed time to understand that, despite the challenges, this family still loves and protects each other. However, I also knew that together, we would overcome everything. Update 3. Everything seemed to settle down after the conversation with Anna. She was less worried and seemed to find some peace in my embrace. We had dinner together, and although the atmosphere was still a bit tense, at least the uncomfortable silence had subsided. I hoped that time would help us all calm down and find a way to resolve things. That evening, while the whole family was gathered in the living room, the doorbell suddenly rang. I got up to open the door, not thinking much about it. When I opened the door, I couldn't believe my eyes. There stood my mother, her face tense, but her eyes full of pleading. "Sweetheart, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice sounding tired and desperate. I stared at her for a long moment, unable to believe that she had come to find me after everything that had happened. "Mom, after everything you said, you still want to talk to me?" I tried to control the anger rising inside me, but I couldn't hide the hurt in my voice. She stood silently for a moment, as though trying to find the right words. "Sweetheart, I'm not here to argue. I realize I've been wrong. I shouldn't have treated Anna that way. I was too harsh and ignorant. I want to apologize." I stood there, unsure of what to do. This was something I had never expected, and I couldn't be sure I could forgive her immediately. But I also realized that if we didn't resolve this, everything would only continue to get worse. "Why are you saying this now?" I asked, my eyes filled with suspicion. My mother lowered her head, then looked up at me with eyes full of regret. "I didn't realize I had treated her so badly. After you left, I thought a lot about it. I understand now that Anna is an important part of this family, and I can't keep ignoring her feelings. I was wrong." She said it with a heavy breath, as if fighting with herself. I looked at her, and though I wanted to be angry, I couldn't help but feel a little pity. I looked into my mother's eyes, wanting to hear more from her, but suddenly, a loud noise from inside the house interrupted. Immediately, I turned around, a sense of unease rising in my chest. I ran to the living room, and when I entered, I couldn't believe what I saw. Anna was standing there, holding a glass jar tightly in her hand, her eyes full of fear. In front of her was a broken piece of the jar, lying on the floor. The entire room was silent. "Anna, what are you doing?" I asked, my voice trembling with worry. Anna stood still, her eyes full of fear and panic. I don't know. I just felt so angry and couldn't control it anymore. I don't want her to think I'm a useless child. But why does she keep treating me like this?" She sobbed, her hand still holding the shard of glass. My mother took a step back, her face full of panic. I didn't want her to do this," she said, her voice trembling. The scene before me was horrifying. Anna was still so young to be going through all of this, and I realized that the damage done to her had gone too far. I walked toward Anna, gently placing my hand on hers and slowly taking the jar from her. "Anna, I'm so sorry. Don't do this," I said, my eyes full of tears. "You don't have to carry this pain alone. I'm here, and I'll help you get through it." Anna looked up at me, her eyes no longer filled with guilt, but with emptiness, as if she no longer knew what to do. My mother stepped back, her face full of regret. I didn't know she was hurting like this," she said, her voice choking up. I turned to look at my mother, my voice now gentle but firm. "You've hurt her. but now it's time for you to prove that you can change. If you truly apologize, show it through your actions. Anna doesn't need empty words. She needs to see real change from you." My mother was silent, but I could feel the regret and a bit of anxiety in her eyes. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew this was an important moment. A moment where my mother and I would have to decide whether we could rebuild this relationship together or not. But what I knew for certain was that, no matter what happened, I would always protect Anna, and together we would overcome all challenges. Update 4. After that night, I felt even more conflicted. Even though my mother had come to find me and expressed regret, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had broken beyond repair. My mother's apology, though sincere, could not erase the deep wounds that had been inflicted in Anna's heart. I couldn't continue living in a family where loved ones could hurt each other so easily. A few days later, I decided to have one final conversation with my mother. This time, it wasn't to resolve the conflict, but to make a decision I had been thinking about for days. I knew that if I didn't make it clear right then, I would never be able to live under the shadow of rejection and pain again. One morning, I called my mother into the living room. The morning light filtered through the window, but the atmosphere in the room felt strangely cold. I looked at her, not with anger, but with a sense of resolve I had never felt before. "Mom, I can't continue living in this situation," I began, my voice gentle but firm. "You can apologize. You can say you'll change, but I can't keep living in doubt. Anna doesn't deserve to suffer from everything you've done, and neither do I. I can't continue this relationship with you." My mother looked at me, her eyes full of surprise and confusion. What do you want to do?" "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't know what to do to make you understand that I can change," she stammered, her voice trembling, as if she still couldn't accept what I was saying. "I know you want to change, but that doesn't mean you can fix everything right away. What I need now is time. But you can't keep hurting Anna, and I can't accept that anymore," I said, unable to hide the exhaustion in my words. A long moment of silence passed between us. My mother lowered her head, her shoulders shaking slightly. She no longer had the strength to argue, but I could feel her sadness and disappointment in every gesture. "Do you want to leave?" my mother asked, her voice weak, almost a whisper. "Yes," I replied. "I need to protect my family. And if you can't change, I can't live in this pain anymore. I love you, but I can't continue living in an environment like this." My mother didn't say anything else. She just stood there, her eyes full of tears, but I couldn't stand there any longer. I turned and walked towards Anna, where she was sitting in her room, staring out the window with a pensive look. Anna didn't ask me anything. She just looked up at me with empty eyes. "Anna, we're leaving," I said, sitting beside her and hugging her tightly. "We'll find a place to live, somewhere no one can hurt you anymore." Anna didn't say anything, but I could feel that she was much lighter now. It felt like all the burdens that had weighed on her for so long had been lifted. We didn't need to keep living in a stifling atmosphere where everything could only break down further. I decided that my family deserved to be loved, to be cherished, not to endure selfishness and unfairness. We left without saying goodbye to my mother, without leaving any explanation. We didn't need to anymore, and I knew I had made the right choice.